Hi, I'm Valentina Rognoli. I'm here with my special guest that is Camilo Ayala Garcia, that is here. Hi,
Hello.
Camilo. Hola.
Ciao Ale.
Camilo is now in Uniandes in Colombia, Bogota, but we spent at least 3 years together researching because I want to start this discussion telling you a very short history. That is the history about how Camilo and we met 5, 6 years ago in a very important conference that was held in Cambridge. The name is Material Science. I cannot remember properly the name, but it's an important conference held in Cambridge, organized by Professor Ashby. And during the gala dinner, I met this young researcher, very fascinated about the material world. Because in this discussion, of course, we will discuss about materials, material for design, the future of of design, and about the future research and the future barrier that we can cross with this discipline. And so I would like to ask to Camilo, because at that time, the research that I proposed to him, that after our meeting, he decided to come to Politecnico to do his PhD program. I would like to ask to him how was his experience, and at that time was very challenging this experience, and maybe is remain also today very challenging this topic. So maybe Camilo can reply to this.
Yeah, thank you Ale for the invitation and for the introduction. Yes, I think it was a very strange invitation. I think because when I presented in Cambridge and I met Valentina, I was doing some practice-based research in my university. I never thought of making a PhD uh, in in design or in materials for design. But after speaking with Valentina and after understanding that this was a topic that was not so well known at that time, so not many designers were engaged in this type of research. Um, I realized that it was a great opportunity, and Valentina, she was very straight and said, "Okay, if you come to Politecnico, we can expand this research topic. We can do something together." It was like very interesting, and I planned everything. I just moved with my family for 4 years to Italy, trying to see if it was worth doing like a deep research in that field. And what happened is that it became something really important. So nowadays, what we do is a brand new research field, no, in design. When I first I don't know, Valentina, if you remember, when I start like digging into your books, and the first things that I did was starting to look everything that you wrote and read everything that you said before about materials for design and of course, other people, mainly in Politecnico, I must say. Uh, I was surprised that all those things were not common for many people outside Italy or outside maybe Europe. And that's why I got the main motivation to start the research, or to build what we have now in this research interest group. I think that was the most important thing. That in that moment I got convinced that it was worth doing research for materials and design. Um,
And what do you think about after 3 years of research on this topic, that is do-it-yourself materials, and maybe you can also define a bit. So we can say the definition we started with at the time, and the definition we formulate at the end of the research. But I would like to say that this definition is also ongoing, because is a panorama that is still in development, and there are a lot of things carry on in relating to the topic of do-it-yourself materials, because in this moment, of course, for sure, the trend is try to develop new idea of materials for the sustainable transition. I mean, the topic of DIY materials in this moment is very connected with the circular materials. I don't know if you experienced something like this maybe in these last years in Colombia or something like that.
yeah, Vale. I think what was interesting about that in terms of the definition is that so when the first definition that you and Stefano and but Elvin and Massimo
Massimo.
gave, in the moment you launch this definition of what is DIY materials and why are important for design, I think people were like, yeah, okay, it's interesting, but I don't see anything different from what is happening in the industry. But in the moment we got deep into the research and we understood that it was, as you said, this connection with the circularity and when because it was also in parallel, no. When we were doing this research and when we were doing a more, as you said, a deeper definition of what means to develop materials as a designer, which I think is the main point. In parallel, they were starting this idea of circular economy, and of course, it's not a new concept, but because maybe of what the Ellen MacArthur Foundation did also in the same 2015, 2016, that start to impulse this circular economy concept. It was super nice because we got our topic became like almost as
In parallel, yeah.
yeah as a way for designers to propose things that before were different because designers in many of the discussions that we had together in Milan, uh, designers used to choose materials at the end of the project. No, they normally design something and then model something in the computer and make some prototypes and then decide, okay, which material we are going to choose. But what we were proposing in the moment is that no, what if you put the material in the beginning of the project? And when you look now, it is what the circular economy propose at the same time. No, what if materiality becomes the main driver for the project? And I think that was the the lucky that we had in that moment is that our topic was running in parallel. When I came back to Colombia, I realized that so many people are doing that. Many people. When I left Colombia, people didn't thought about that. And when I came back, a lot of people they were engaged in materiality and doing implementation with materials and with biological materials and recycling materials. And what is very nice for me right now, what I'm doing here, is that right now we have something to show or something to give to them as a theoretical background. So when they ask me how this is possible or how can we do this, we already have something to give. No, so look at this paper, look at this article, look at this book, look at these things. So it's super interesting because now now they believe in in the research. Let's say before they didn't believe. They're like, yeah, you are a designer, but you don't know chemistry and you don't know you are not an engineer. So
Chef.
why are you? Yeah, you are not. why are you talking about these things? Before it was like that,
Yes, sure.
but right now it's like because they now they believe because are things maybe in a prestigious journal or something, you know. So,
Mm. I think during your speech, I thought something important that maybe this motivation linked with the sustainability to develop more sustainable material, more circular material, make the difference. Because I can remember, and I know that you will appreciate what I'm saying, that in the history of design, we had an episode that is called design primario. Prior to that, I had the lucky to meet some of the big masters creating and developing this approach. And for sure, they were the first in absolute that decided to put the materials on the center of the design. And in a certain way, they also said, is it possible to start from materials to design some things? And they also said that the quality of materials is something that can make the difference in the project. And for that reason, is it possible also to design materials? So the designer can design objects, artifacts in general, but the designer can design also materials. They state these maybe around the 70s, I think, something like this. Uh, I- um, what would like to say is that maybe we didn't invent 10 things, but we had the lucky that with this motivation and this awareness about the sustainability, the message that a designer can create a materials and needs to design, maybe with this great responsibility, it became a kind of shared attitude. So you said that when you come back in Colombia, a lot of people was doing materials and creating materials. I think that this is for the sustainability reason and also for the maker culture that I think is also parallel with the sustainability topic.
no, you're right, Vale, because I think as we always discussed, what happened back in the 70s or the early 80s is that they didn't have internet, and then the industry was not ready for what they were saying. And maybe the lucky we have now is that we have also these tools, but we also um, make it a research track. I think this is the little difference, in my opinion, because before they were doing that, and you know, and Mancini and Petrillo and all these and Frida, you know, all these people, they were doing a lot of things, a lot of these. They were designing materials and they were doing things, but they didn't declare it as a research track. They didn't put it as a research, as a new frontier of research in design. They were advancing in many. They were advancing in many things. They were advancing also in interaction. They were advancing in sustainability. They were advancing in these things, but they didn't, or at least what we have found so far is that they didn't declare it as a research path. But uh, I'm not saying that we are doing it, but the fact that we are declaring it a little bit, that we because what we do with our partners in other universities, and when we declare these things, when they say we focus in research of materials for design, or we try to show designers all the tools and all the possibilities they have to engage with the project with materiality. I think this declaration is making it a new research frontier, a new research path, and I am going to now ask you something, if I may, and it has to do with the possibilities that we are having. For example, uh, before I was leaving, or the last 6 months that I spent in Italy, you started this wonderful project, this MADE project,
Mhm.
with other universities. And it was a very important project in the sense that many universities were engaged in that project because of the objective that was preparing designers for the new industry. You know what means
Mhm.
to prepare a designer for the new industry. So my I'm going to ask you this is how was the overall response in the European Union when you did this project, when you are presenting these publications, when all these designers that came from Island, from Turkey, from I don't know where,
Portugal.
uh, Portugal, they
Mm.
all of them, they were just doing materials and producing a lot of um, new, like trying to propose new alternatives. So how that was, it was a project that was like testing what we were thinking at the time in Politecnico. So how was that experience?
Mhm. So, allora, the experience was great. So, the project, I think, is one of the most interesting project I follow and I develop because, as you said, involved a lot of people around Europe. That was people from profession, so young designers at least, and all the students. So students close to finish their path. But the interesting things was the formula that we found for developing this project that was composed by 6 workshops, 1 week workshop. So the people, at least 20 people, staying together for 1 week long, working together in a lab with a lot of tools, a lot of ingredients, and of course they were asked to also to bring their own ingredients. And it was fantastic because we also decided to open a new section in the project that we called original ingredients, because we realized during this project that okay, the process for developing the materials is important, so the recipe, we call it, but also the original ingredients uh, are important, and also all the thought that is back of this matter that young designer brought to the lab, because you have to find ingredients that are always available, ingredients that you can easily get and use. So it's we discover during the project this big topic related to the ingredients. And but I think the most important things that I have to mention about this project is relating to the industry and the companies involvement. I mean, um, the topic of DIY materials is very important, is very challenging, is very interesting if we relating make the relationship with the sustainability. But if we want to make the difference and affect the real world, let me say, as Papanek said, design for the real world, we need to involve the companies and create a kind of materials that is possible to scale up. But to scale up, but not an industrial level. So we are not designing for the old model, industrial model. We are designing this material. We want to scale in a certain sense for industries, but not for the old industry production model. So this is the part that is not still investigated. So we have a lot of work to do about this part. So it's a new frontiers for sure. And it's what we want to do. In this moment, for example, I had a good contact with a company that is a startup born from another big company in Italy, and they are developing DIY material, so using the same approach we used. And the funny things is that they didn't know about DIY materials. So I don't know. I don't know if I have to be sad or happy about this. I think happy because I want always to be optimist. And if someone else is doing something similar, what we are doing, I think is something that make stronger your research instead of indebolirla, come si dice? Instead
Yeah,
of
make it a week.
make it a week. Okay. So this is what I
No,
think.
Ale, you are right. I think that the reason I asked you that is because I was very surprised. So going back to this initial question of how these new frontiers of design are being developed, I was very surprised because many people outside Italy or maybe outside Europe knew about this project. You know, when I was invited to do our lectures and also the lectures that we gave together in Rhode Island and the ones that we did in Mexico, we didn't need to show the project like, we did this MADE project and you know that we are training designers. They were already they knew about this. They maybe because of the social network or maybe because of the different network that we have, or maybe because design is really looking at that field. So I was very impressed in the sense that it didn't need to have a lot of communication strategy to show this project. The project was like moving by itself, and for me, what's very very important. I here in Colombia, or what I like, and you know that. What I like about being here is that a lot of designers, a lot of universities are asking me, I saw you in the materials experience lab. I know that you did this mother project. Do you know? Can you give us tools in Spanish maybe so we can do that in our school or in our studio because we really like it, but we are not so. I don't know. We don't understand English very well, or we don't feel free to work, feel comfortable working in English. So, as you said, in a way, it's a validation that what we are doing is interesting. So many people are willing to do. So this was primarily my or what I wanted to say. I don't know. This is
And
this is fantastic.
no, because you asked me about the project, I would like to ask you about the project that you are developing in this moment. About
Okay. No, it is very nice. No, because as it is important because it's something that I asked you if I could do that when I finished my PhD. No, I said to you, I wanted to, I want to do everything, but in Spanish. I want to put all these theories and I want to do all this, put all these ideas into Spanish because I realize, and now I got the confirmation that many people doesn't get access to these things. Publicating in English and disseminating research in English is one thing, but Latin America is from Miami to Argentina, and
No, to Chicago. To
from
Chicago.
Chicago to Argentina. so,
Yo no sé por qué no estamos hablando español, pero ya. Vamos a hablar castellano. No, estoy bromeando.
sí, podíamos, ¿no? Más fácil.
No, English.
English. No, but the real thing is that we did a couple of experiments, no, with you. We said, okay, let's publish this into in a journal in Buenos Aires or a journal in Chile, and they got accepted immediately. So those were sparkling moments that in which I got convinced that we could do something about that. So right now I'm engaged in that project. So I'm taking all the research that we have developed and all the things that we are continuously thinking about. I am just trying to write it in Spanish and try to put it as a tool for people to use it, not to use it in Latin America, no? Okay, maybe Brazil is a little bit in between, but
they can translate it.
Yeah, but I think it's not difficult. Also because I am trying to put it in also a more visual language, no? In a way that it can be a bit broader.
Can you explain better what do you put in this? At the end, is the book, no?
Yeah, it is a book. The book is called Materialist, no? It's a materialist. We are materialist people. So it's a book that is containing everything from the history. So as it is based, the history part is based on what you did for your PhD. So we start with this history, but not the history of humanity, but the history of materials for design.
In design.
That you wrote started 3 centuries ago. So we start from that. So this is this first part that shows this history of the materials for design, then a little bit of the properties of materials, a little bit of qualities of materials, and everything that we have been discussing today. So how this become the tools for designers to auto-produce materials, or to self-produce materials, and moving towards what we are doing in terms of intelligent materials and biomaterials, and the book finish with the tools we have developed, your atlas, some of the MDD method, all these things to help people to do with materials, no?
That is of course for design student, but also for professional,
for
as you said before.
Yeah. For professionals as well.
And 2 minutes left. I would like to ask you if there is something we can say for the young designer, for the designer of the future about material, to leave them a message.
I think the most important message is that now that we realize that we can do again with the hands, because it's something that it was lost, no, for some years. Designers were very virtual, and still are many, no? Many are have this computational thinking that is interesting, but can also be combined with coming back with craftsmanship and things. So I think the message is that now that you have these technological tools and you come back to this old way to do things in design, it is a perfect combination. So what the future is posing us is interesting. Even now in this pandemic time, a lot of the designers are asked to provide quick solutions, new solutions, something that was expected. So this combination of materiality with the hands and technology is going to be amazing for the next
Yes, I totally agree. That the combination between hands and all the technology we have available is a powerful tool to to develop new materiality, and of course always framing in the context of transition toward a more sustainable society at the end.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay, thank you, Kami. It was fantastic to speak with
Yeah,
you in this
very nice.
context. I think
Very nice.
it's a very good initiative.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah, there are 2 minutes longer. Closing, please. Yes, we are close. Thank you very much.
Okay, so have a good night over there.
Yeah, I have to go to dinner, to have dinner.
Okay, so buon appetito.
Bye bye.